Oh, hello there. If you haven't heard this already, this is the Bowman Show. And I just want to introduce you now because this is going to get exciting. I don't know about you guys, but I smell a little something brewing. It smells pretty good to me. I can't wait to see what we're going to dig into today.
If you smell what the rock is cooking, the rock says, the rock says,
I'm really excited to share with you today an interview with one of the most famous key figures in American history. This man, although he held a pen and although he was really significant and known for writing up that Declaration of Independence, if it wasn't for a pen, he'd probably be, I don't know, slamming down a fist because he is that powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the third president of the United States, the man that created West Point, which is pretty cool, and the writer of the Declaration of Independence. Everybody get your hands together for Thomas Jefferson. TJ.
Yeah, Tommy.
TJ.
Yeah, Tommy. Woo. Tommy, man. Yeah, woo.
All right, Tom. Hey, it's a great pleasure to have you here on the show. But before we get into some of the historical events and the significance of today's journey with our lesson, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the news headlines today on ESPN all over the place. It just seems like someone else by the name of Tom is stealing your thunder. And let's face it, I don't think he should be really building up those blocks in the newspapers and all over the ESPN magazines and all over SportsCenter just because I really don't think he's that good. I think he's getting old. I think he's getting a little washed up. I don't know about that Tom Brady character.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mr. Bowman. And typically I don't get too boisterous, but I'll tell you what, I'm sick of hearing all this about this Tom Brady character. I'm the real Tom. I guess 6 Super Bowls is kind of impressive, but first Secretary of State of the United States, second Vice President, third President of the United States, University of Virginia, West Point. I don't know, the author of the Declaration of Independence. You tell me who the real Tom is. Woo!
Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. That's what I like to hear. So, Patriots this coming season, what do you think of that old Tommy boy? What do you think?
I'll tell you what, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. The Patriots are going to struggle. Tom's going to struggle. And you know what? I got to go with my boys. I'm a statesman true and true. I got to go Virginia. I'm going to have to cheer for my Redskins.
Wow, that's awesome. I don't think you get a better intro than that. That's very impressive there. I like that, Tommy. It must really say it in the name. Someone just said it just recently. The pen is truly mightier than a sword, right?
Yeah, well, it definitely is. And throughout my life and my presidency, one of the things that I've always been proud of is education, pushing knowledge on not only myself but people around me, and my development of a lot of colleges, let it be where I attended at William and Mary, or my development of the University of Virginia. I can tell you right now that things are going to get done through the pen and education for sure.
Awesome. You hear that, kids? Education, key thing here. Okay, education. Love it, Tom. All right, since we're setting the stage here with education, I just wanted to briefly talk with you guys why we're having an interview with Thomas Jefferson, why we're backtracking in time and talking about westward expansion. Realistically, I just thought it was important to set the stage and set the background information and the historical content before we get into some of the conflicts and rebellions and labor revolts as the United States is really expanding out into the West and becoming an industrial power. So I think it's important that we backtrack a little bit, set the stage of what we're about to get into, and then we'll get on to some of the conflicts, some of the rebellions that we're going to run into once we explain about westward expansion. But what can I say? I mean, we just can't pass up an interview with old TJ here.
Woo! Ooh, yeah, Thomas Jefferson, yeah.
Yeah, brother. All right, since April 30th is coming up real quick here, 1803, Louisiana Purchase. What was going through your mind here? Like, why did you think this was a good idea? America was going through hard financial times at the end of the Revolutionary War, and by 1803, it just looked like this was a long struggle for the U.S. And what just made you think purchasing this huge chunk of land for $15 million was a good idea?
Well, great question, Mr. Bowman. And when I looked at it and I saw opportunity, I saw growth. We pride ourselves as Americans as always wanting to be better, always wanting to grow, and what a better opportunity to almost double the size of our territory. If it was up to my large opposition, the Federalist Party,
Hated them.
yeah, for years, me and Alexander Hamilton were at each other's neck.
Well, he got it now, didn't he?
Yeah,
He got
yeah.
his.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. We could go on for days, but that's for a different day. That Aaron Burr can talk about that one. But to hit to their point, the Federalists, wanted an industrialized nation, which, in the Northeast, we had that. Where I was from, and from Virginia, we were large believers and supporters that people had their own land.
Yeah.
We wanted a nation of acreage, a nation of farmers, and this gave us that opportunity to not only have our industrialization, but to also be able to expand, to have our farms, and to give everybody a chance to truly have the American dream.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And to have that, having your own chunk of land is important.
Yeah, why not have both, right? You have industrialization, which the Federalists are pushing, but you're just bring this new aspect too. It's like, you know what? Why can't we just have both? We have all this land, all this size, all this opportunity, resources. Why can't we just use it, right? It's in our backyard.
Exactly right, and what I really wanted to touch base on too was, when I'm sitting and looking at the Western Hemisphere at this time, we had so many other European countries that wanted their piece of the pie, and one of the things that myself and the rest of the 13 colonies, when we decided to break away, was we didn't want to live the way that the European nations were living.
Constantly in conflict, constant tension, which we'll talk about later, causes a lot of issues. Millions of people dying, world wars, you name it.
Correct. So to your point, the more governments that we have to deal with, which we all know my opinion on large government, the less governments, the less people have to deal with. I always have been a strong believer of laissez-faire, and that's what I'm giving the people of our country is a way to govern themselves with having enough space, having enough land, and having enough resources to do so.
That's awesome, right? Yeah, that's awesome. So at the time, we had 4 European powers in our backyard, right? We had Russia, we had England, we had France and Spain. And that has to be threatening not only to you as president, but your people, your citizens, right? They're constantly in danger. And you got to figure, too, this is untapped land that we're seeing here. We have no idea what's going to be out there. And one of the big issues that caused many problems and conflicts within the 13 original colonies was Native American attacks. So as a president, how do you think you can protect your people? How do you think you can see this as a great asset that we can use this to better ourselves as a country, as a newly formed country?
So, great question again, Mr. Bowman. And, one of the things that I fought against at the Federalists and their idea of protecting our nation was a large national military. They wanted to win wars by numbers of troops, which unfortunately, I don't look at our soldiers and our young men as exposable. I wanted to protect our country in a different way. And I saw the importance of obviously being able to protect our citizens and protect our territory. And to do so, before the purchase was even an idea, we established the military base up at West Point in 1802. This was to win by tactical force, right? We wanted the best trained soldiers. We wanted the most experienced soldiers and educated soldiers. So it does come back to, well, we talked about education, not just education by books, but education by experience. And this is what I wanted from our military.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, quality over quantity, right? And I think that's important to state since you are an anti-federalist and how you are trying to save some money, right? You're not trying to tax the hell out of all your citizens because, again, that's what we fought the revolution over. That's where we see a lot of rebellions, a lot of revolts forming from taxes. And you thought, well, my best way around this is let's just train the troops, right? Train the officers, the generals that are going to be leading our army and our soldiers to protect our citizens. And I think that's a cool way of how you establish this academy at West Point. So Lewis and Clark, why did you decide that they would be your best choice at exploring this new environment, this new pathway to the West? What made you choose those two guys?
Yeah, so I knew I needed to put someone in that role that I could trust, and I had a relationship with Meriwether Lewis previously when he served in the Virginia State Militia, and as well as Clark being from Virginia as well. So with us all being statesmen from Virginia, and I've always taken a large importance of pride in our state. I knew that those guys would get it done and get the job done, which it was a very successful expedition, some may say, and it was over around 2 years of an expedition, but it needed to be done. They went through a lot of hardships, but it opened up opportunities for geographical understanding, mapping. Opened up, not only was it important to know where the Mississippi River was for the port of New Orleans for our farmers, but how they could get there through this new farmland. So we needed to know the small rivers that connected to the Mississippi River, and this was our way of doing it.
Yeah, it was just a great way to try to interconnect the country, right? You're transporting resources, material to markets in Europe, to markets in the United States, right? New York City, Philadelphia. Overall, just having this gateway, having this transportation need, which, let's face it, we're going to talk about it here soon. Railroads helped out a lot, but you need to use rivers, right? You need to use waterways. I could just only imagine, too, the way you greeted Meriwether Lewis to lead this expedition. You're probably sitting back at home, feet up at Monticello, right? Kicking back a cool brews.
Yeah. Us founding fathers, we like to have a few cold ones here and there.
Yeah, here and there, right? Slapping a little bit of tobacco on those cheeks, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I see how it is. All right, so I just want to finish up saying here with our interview with TJ that, this Louisiana Purchase was indeed a huge, huge benefit and success for the United States. Not only did we see a lot of agricultural gains, resources, but once we interconnect that territory that we just purchased, the United States will become one of the largest industrial powers in the world. And which we'll get to here soon, which I want to set the stage for. This causes a lot of problems as well, especially with workers, labor strikes. We'll see a lot of problems with industrial giants overstretching and really becoming corrupt in the way they run their businesses. But TJ, after hearing about this and what happens with the Louisiana Purchase, with the railroad extension, with a lot of the industrialization in the West, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, Mr. Bowman, that sounds a little bittersweet for my taste. Sweet because obviously growth and expansion is one of the things that I've always prided myself on, as well as all Americans. But bitter because corruption is something that I've always fought against. Large corporations, corruption, large government, etc. So I guess only time will tell, and the history books will tell it to your students one day.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Tom. I really appreciate being on the show today. I just want to leave off here and say that it was a pleasure. I loved it, man. You did a really great job. Thanks a lot, TJ.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Is there any message you want to give to the Upper Dauphin area students here right now?
Yeah, there is. And right now I just want to let everyone know to stay safe, stay positive. If there's a will, there'll always be a way. And best of luck to you guys for your futures. Continue to learn, continue to grow, and continue to be the best versions of yourself.
Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate that. I think the old Trojans over there in Eville would really appreciate that as well. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. That was a great interview with Thomas Jefferson, and we heard a lot of interesting facts about his life. Obviously, we know the history about him, and I just really wanted to talk to him especially because this is setting the stage for the westward expansion, and he really started it. He initiated it, and he wanted to try to make it America become a stronger, more dominant country moving forward, where we can use our resources, our agricultural means, which he was fighting for, the typical agrarian farmer, and use our industrialization to our benefit, and use them both together, and really use our country and its resources to its full extent. But I just want to set the stage with that before we move on to some of the industrial strikes, before we really run into a lot of the conflicts with the Native Americans out into the western frontier. And again, manifest destiny, okay, how religion's used to push these frontiers out into the west and really try to claim this land for the betterment of the United States and really push out these European countries from our backyard. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Please complete the questions that are attached, and please stay safe, stay positive, and have a great day. See you next time.